Hi guys, it's Adrian from Centre Court Tennis and welcome to my den, otherwise known as the office from which I work. And like all home-based offices, obviously there's a lot of junk. I'm not a closet alcoholic, but I can't quite point, everything's backwards. But look, I thought the easiest way to teach you the rules, I'll go through a few things here in a second on the whiteboard, and I want to emphasize again, the easiest way to do it is watch other people doing it, try and get a grasp of it and just kind of immerse yourself in it and you'll pick it up. It is slightly weird the way that it's scored, but on the other hand, if you just watch enough people play, pretty soon you'll find it no hassle at all and it'll just come second nature to you. I think trying to commit it to memory just by hearing me talk about it will be difficult, but I want you to have the reference so you can go back to it. But as I said, watch some other people playing it, or another thing that your kids can often do is actually, as I said, play a tennis game, a computer game, and often the computer games these days use proper tennis scoring, and that can be a great way to learn it and your kids can have fun as well. So having said that, here we go. Now, to win a match in tennis, so we'll call it a tennis match, not call it a tennis game. I mean, you can call it a tennis game, but if you call it a tennis game, we can get a little bit confused as to whether we mean a match or games, because they actually are games as well. So let me start from the top. You want to win a match. Now, to win a match, you need to normally win a certain number of sets. Now, in the vast majority of cases, that's going to be you're going to have to win 2 sets, usually, guys or girls. There are a couple of exceptions, and these only apply to the men, sometimes when they have to win 3 sets. Now, you could call it first to 2 or first to 3. In tennis lingo, we normally call it this would be called best of 3. And that would be called best of 5. Because if you can imagine, if we're saying, okay, the winner of this match will be the person who does the best over 3 sets. Well, that would be the first person to win 2. Or if we say the best person over 5 sets, that would be the person who's the first to get to 3. Now, if you win, let's say you're playing best of 3, if you win the first 2 sets, you don't play the third one. And if you're doing first to 3 sets, you don't play the 4th and 5th sets. So if you hear someone call it a straight sets victory, all that means is, in this case, and I'll put brackets around this because again, that's the exception. A straight sets victory is when, let's say you're playing me and you win both the first set and the second set. We don't play the third set. You would be said to have a straight sets victory over me, or me, I would be said to have copped a straight sets defeat. So you normally have to win 2 sets. Now, how do you win a set? You win a set by winning a certain number of games, and sets are almost always the first to 6. And that's pretty much it. There is, again, as I mentioned, tennis scoring can be a little bit funny. The exception here is that you normally need to win by 2. So if you imagine you can win a set 6 games to 0, and we call 0 love in tennis. So 6 games to love is fine. 6 games to 1, 6 games to 2, 6 games to 3, 6 games to 4. You can't, however, win 6 games to 5. Let me explain. If you're playing a set, and let's say it's gone 4-all, and you're playing me. Let's say you win the next game, 5 games to 4, and if you win the next game again, it'd be 6 games to 4, that's it, that's a set done. If, however, it's 4-all, you win the game 5-4, then I win a game 5-all. And let's say you win the next game 6-5. You've gotten to 6, but it's 6-5. You haven't got a gap of 2, there's only a gap of 1, obviously. So we just keep playing. So it's 6 games to 5 to you. Now, if you win the game after that, it would be 7 games to 5. At which point the set's finished. So occasionally the set can end, and I'll put this again in brackets on a 7. So you would have been set to win the set 7 games to 5. Now backtrack with me for a sec. So we went 4-all, 5-4, 5-all, 6-5 to you. Now what happens if I win the next game though? It's 6-all. That's where there are 2 different kinds of sets. One is called a tie break set, and the other one is called an advantage set. Now, if it gets to 6 games all, and we're doing a tie break set, all that means is, well, we don't want this to go on forever, because it could go 7-6, 7-all, 8-7, 8-all, you know, until, well, basically, I mentioned in one of the other videos the longest match ever played. It was at Wimbledon. I believe the score in that last set was 70 games to 68. And that last set in itself took 1 whole day. We don't want to do that, so we play what's called a tiebreaker. And I'll explain a tiebreaker separately. But basically, whoever wins that tiebreaker, remembering that we're at 6 games all, we award, let's say you win the tiebreaker, and then we say you won that set 7 games to 6. So a set really easily, and most sets are tie-break sets. So first to 6, win by 2. So it could be 6-love, 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4. Remember that love means 0. Or it could be 7-5. Or in a tie-break set, it can be 7-6. Now, what's an advantage set? An advantage set, it's basically what I just told you happened at Wimbledon. There is no tie-break at 6 games all. You and I are going to go the distance, and it's whoever gets a gap of 2 first. So in that set that I mentioned to you, 70 games to 68, that means basically, you know, they went 9-all, 10-9, 10-all, you know, 11-10, 11-all, 12-all, 13-all, and then as the day progressed, you know, 30-all, 40-all, 50-all, 60-all. Then it got to 68-all, and then it was 69, 68, and then finally it became 70 games to 68. Hey, there's a gap of 2. The set's over. I mean, both those people, you know, basically dead, and they couldn't play their next match, or the winner couldn't play their next match. The loser obviously was out. But that's called an advantage set. You play until someone wins by 2. And I believe that used to be how all the sets were played. But it can go on forever. So they introduced this concept of a tiebreak set. So that's how you play. That's so starting from the top to win a match, you normally need to win 2 sets. And to win a set, it's first to 6. And if it's a tiebreak set, it's win by 2. And if you get to 6-all, you play a tiebreak. If it's an advantage set, it's win by 2, and you keep playing until someone has that gap of 2. I will explain a tiebreak in a sec, but let me just go through the points. Now, to win a game, you need to win, well, I wouldn't say a certain number of points. It's a bit weird. The points in tennis, let's say you and I are starting a game. We both start on 0, which is called, as I mentioned, love. I believe that comes from French, l'œuf, which is an egg, because apparently 0 looks like an egg. Or that could very well just be an urban myth. I'm not sure. Moving on. First point is 15, then 30, then 40, and then if you win another point after that, we say you've won the game. As in one of these games up here. Now, the only other thing you need to know really is that we normally call the service score first. So let's pretend you're serving and, you know, it's love all. We don't normally say that. We understand when we're playing, starting the game, we're both on 0. And let's say you win the first point. We call it 15 love. 15 because you're the server and you won the point, so we call your score first. 15 love. If I won the point, it would be love 15, right? You win the next point, 30 love, and then it could be 40 love, or it could be 30, 15. But basically you get to 40 love, you get to 40, and after that, if you win one more point, it's called game, and you win the game. Now, so love, 15, 30, 40, game. If it helps you to remember, what you can do is think of a clock face. And as I'm sure you've worked out, 15 is quarter past, 30 is half past. You know, it probably should be 45, but 40 is quarter to, and then, you know, you get back to 12 o'clock is game. Now, much like, I'll just wipe these out. Much like how you win a set, and there's two types of set, as I said, there's tiebreak and there's advantage. There are a few different ways of winning a game. Now, if it just goes 15 love, 30 love, 40 love game, that's fine. That's common to all the different types of winning a game. Oh, by the way, if I say 15 all, then that means we both have 15. 30 all means we both have 30, and, you know, etc. If, however, we get to 40 all, you'll hear in tennis we call this deuce. D-E-U-C-E. I believe it's a French word. I have no idea what it means, but deuce. Now, 40 all, deuce, exactly the same thing. Just people don't say 40 all in tennis, they say deuce. Now, if we're playing, there's different types of deuce. That's why I said there's different types of games. So the different types of game differ only in what do you do when you get to here, okay? Now, if you're playing a sudden death deuce, it sounds nice and violent. And basically all it means is whoever wins the next point wins this game. So we get to deuce, okay? If you win the next point, you won the game. If I win the next point, I won the game. That's all that means, okay? That's not the most common sort of game people play. Most people will just play what's called a normal deuce. It's also called a long deuce. Sudden death is a short one. Long deuce or normal deuce is the other one. And all that happens is if you win the next point, we say advantage. So let's say you win the next point. Remember, you were serving. We'd say advantage server. You can also say add, short for advantage, add in. The server has the advantage. It's just I guess it's a bit of jargon. Advantage in, or advantage server, or advantage to me. Just make it very clear who's got the advantage. Right now, if it's advantage you, we play another point and you win the next point. So it's advantage you and you win another point. Now you've won the game. Okay, remember this is actually the most common sequence. The most common way of playing deuce is a long deuce or normal deuce, and this is how you do it. So deuce, whoever wins a point then gets advantage. Let's say it's you, and then if you win the next point, you've won the game. If, however, let's say it goes from deuce, and then you win the next point, it's your advantage, but then, so it's advantage you, but then I win the next point, we go back to deuce again, okay? And then let's say I win the next point, it's advantage to me, but then you win the next point, it goes back to deuce. So you could imagine this actually can go on for a long time. You know, 4 or 5 deuces in one game until someone basically wins, you know, I guess 2 points in a row from deuce. So when you get to 40 all, it's called deuce. Sudden death deuce means next point wins the game. Normal deuce or long deuce, you go, or advantage, not advantage. Long deuce or normal deuce, you go to advantage, and then if you win the next point, you win the game. If you go to advantage and the other person wins a point, you go back to deuce. So that's how you win a game. So, as I said, it can be a little bit confusing trying to remember. It's love, then 15, then 30, then 40. So love, 15, 30, 40, or as I like to say, the kids remember love, then it's 15, 30, 40 game. 15, 30, 40 game. And you can just use a clock face, the analogy of a clock face again, if that helps you remember. So, to win a match, you need to win 2 sets, normally, could be more. You've got to win 6 games. Normally you'll play a tiebreaker set, not an advantage set. And to win a game, 15, 30, 40, and then the type of deuce you play, it's normally going to be a long deuce, so you have the advantage. Just remember to call the server score first, if you can, and that's about it. If any of this gets a bit confusing, just make sure you communicate with the person you're playing and say, even if you get the score the wrong way round, let's say, and you say 40 love rather than love 40, just make sure you say something like 40 to me or love to you, and then you won't get confused. Etiquette-wise, it's supposed to be the server that calls the score, as in calls it out loud, and they're supposed to call that score before, or as soon as the point finishes, they're supposed to call the score. It's the very first thing you do. You don't go and pick up the ball. You don't say anything else. You call the score. That way, the opponent, if you and your opponent have a disagreement about the score, you can sort it out, and you should sort it out before you play the next point. Or if you forget, you know how things are these days, especially if you don't think about something for 10 seconds, suddenly you've forgotten it. So as soon as you finish the point, you call the score. It's the server's job to call the score, etiquette-wise. There's no written rule, really. But the returner or the receiver, the other guy, should know the score just in case the server forgets, or the server's trying to cheat. So that's how you do the points. Now, I'll just come back to this whole thing of a tie-break set, which is by far normally what you'll do. You normally play a tie-break set, not an advantage set. So just back up for me, and we've got to 6 games all, okay? And then we say, okay, we're going to play a tie-break. And as soon as we go into a tie-break, we just score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a tie-break is going to be the first person to win 7 points. And again, much like in the set, it's win by 2. That doesn't mean you have to win by 2. It means win by at least 2. So if, for example, you could win 7 points to 0, 7 points to 1, up to 7 points to 5, it's exactly like the advantage set. So if you get to 5 points all, and then it's 6-5, so if you win 5 all, and then it went 6-5, and then it went 6 all, and then 7-6. I mean, this person now has 7, but there's no gap of 2. So you just keep going. Let's say they win the next point, 8-6, and hooray, there's your gap of 2. And let's say you're on 8, I'm on 6. So we say you won the tiebreaker. And then, as I mentioned before, you've won the set, 7 games to 6. So that's how you play a tiebreaker. And the only thing is, when you go into a tiebreaker, you call the score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't do 15, 30, 40, and all that jazz. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. First person to get to 7 and win by 2. Occasionally these days there are longer tiebreakers. They're exactly the same, but you just play first to 10. Those are called match tiebreakers or super tiebreakers. That's a very stinky term, I know. Super tiebreakers. Match tiebreakers or super tiebreakers. Now, as I said, this will make a lot more sense if you just go out and play. This is more of a reference, so you can come back to it. I don't really advise you just sit here and try and memorize that. If you've got a brilliant memory, then you can. All power to you. That's the scoring side of it, okay? And again, as usual, any questions, let me know. Now, the only other thing I really need to do for you is show you where to stand and what happens, basically how do you play. So what I'll do now, back in the serving video, you'll remember that I mentioned that you always start on the right. So let me drop a court quickly for you. As my teacher used to say, you guys can talk amongst yourself for a bit, and we're done. Now, for the purposes of this, I'll assume you're playing from the back of the court. You may not be. You might be playing from the service line, and that's fine, but I'll let you adjust. Now, singles, right? 1 versus 1, singles. You're red. I am blue. Now, in singles, these parts of the court are not in. You can just completely ignore them. All they're there for is for doubles, which is 2 versus 2. Now, you're serving. okay? You're the red, and you serve close to the middle, but not from the middle, remember? So you're on the side, the right side. We always start on the right, and this would be my right side if I'm looking this way. Okay, so we're both starting on our rights. And I'm standing over here also, as I discussed in the return video. I'm not going to stand here because you have to serve into this box. So there, okay? Now, server has to get into that box. If you do, so that means on the full, by the way. So the ball goes over and the first bounce is there. You can't bounce it here and then have it bounce there. And in tennis, we only concern ourselves with where the first bounce is. So the first bounce is in and the second bounce is back there. Well, it doesn't matter where the second bounce is. So you get the ball into the first box, this one here. After that, I can hit it into here, or into here, just not into there. And so you can also hit there, there, or there. This is a net, I forgot to mention. I'll write net. That's not a line, it's a net. And whoever wins a point. So we discussed how to score. Let's say you win the point, 15 love. Now, all you got to remember is every time, this is a general rule, between points, you swap sides. So now you serve to here. You win the point, 30 love. Again, swap sides. So you get the idea. That's singles. Now, if we're playing doubles, this is you and that's your partner. And this is me and this is my partner. It's exactly the same, pretty much, except you've got the doubles lines are now in. Not for the serve though. The serve is always only going into here. Okay? But all the other shots where I said previously they could go there, there, or there, now they can land in there and there. Now, doubles. Normally, because you have someone at the net, and remember I said normally, this person could easily be back here. There are no rules. This person can be back there. There are no rules. But let's say normally there's one up at the net, one back. We call it one up, one back. This is normally how you play. This person, you, probably stand a little bit wider out so you don't serve into the back of your partner's head. And guess what? You start from your right, serve it in. Remember the tram lines or the side lines are not in for the serve. You still have to get it in here. Boom, goes in. Then I can hit me. I can hit here, there, 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 or there. And whoever wins the point, that's fine. Let's say you guys win the point, red wins a point, 15 love to you. Now the only thing in doubles is, well, what do we do now? The same person keeps serving until the game is finished. Remember game 15, 30, 40 game. We don't go, oh, I've had a serve, now you serve. Equally, you also can't go when it's your turn to serve. You can't say, I don't want to serve, my partner's going to serve. You have to take your turn, okay? But anyway, 15 love. Now, in between points, the server swaps sides. So you've gone from here, and now you're serving from the left, and your partner will go that side. Receiving team doesn't do that. I received when you were serving from here. I'm now going to move, whoop, apparently I'm going to fall off. I'm going to move up and my partner will move back. And now my partner is going to receive your serve. Okay? And then on the next point, again, serving team swaps sides. Receiving team doesn't. They move up and back or forwards and back. Points done. Bang. Brilliant. Swap sides again. Forwards and backwards. Again. Okay? It's the same if you both wanted to play from the back. Okay? Let's say everyone's playing from the back. You guys would just keep swapping sides because you're the servers and we would just stay where we are. Okay, so the receiving team doesn't swap sides and the serving team does. And if you think about it, the only real reason for that is if we were swapping sides and you were swapping sides, you may always be serving to the same person. And you're not allowed to do that. So if I receive the first point, my partner must receive the next point. I can't receive 2 points in a row. That's actually a rule. Okay, so there's no, oh, I'm the better player, so I'm going to return all the points. You can't do that. Just like I said, you can't serve all the games. You also can't choose to serve none of the games. So that's doubles. Okay, so we've covered the scoring system. We've covered where in the court is in. The only other thing really is in singles, you'll take it in turns to serve your game. So let's say you serve the first game, then I serve the next, and you serve, then I serve, then you serve, then I serve, right? And you've got the scoring happening in the background, but basically we take it in turns. And remember, you serve for one whole game. You don't go, oh, I served 2 times, now it's your turn. So you serve for 1 game, and I serve for 1 game. Obviously, the games may be of different lengths, so your game might go for a long time with lots of deuces. And then my game might be very quick. I might win my game very quickly, 15, 30, 40 lob, bang, done. Okay, but you serve for a game, I serve for a game, you serve for a game, I serve for a game. So we just keep swapping. If it's doubles, then it's your team serves for a game, my team serves for a game. Your team serves for a game, my team serves for a game. It's just that every time your team serves, you need to swap the partner that's serving, right? And every time my team serves, I need to swap the partner that's serving. So remember, you can't do all the serving, and neither can you do none of the serving. So, you know, every player will have their turn. So let's say you serve for your team, then I serve for my team. It's your team's turn, but you can't serve because you just served. So your partner would serve, and then my partner would serve. So you just keep that rotation happening. And as I said, the rules are a bit complicated at first, but you'll get there. The main thing is that you continue having fun. So if it sounds a bit overwhelming, get out there and just keep playing, keep hitting. Maybe introduce a few things at a time. I would suggest the first thing to do is probably just get the handle of playing the 15, 30, 40, or potentially just getting that idea of serving from the right to start and then swapping sides every time. If you do that, then you'll go, oh, it's not too difficult. And when you do it enough, you won't have to think about it. Then you can add the bits as you go. And do that. Good luck. It's not the hardest part. I mean, you know, learning how to play, I mean, that's the more important part, right? So learn how to do that. And as always, if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, speak to you later. My name's Adrian from Centre Court Tennis, and good luck out there, guys. Bye-bye.